Okay, let's unpack this. You sent over some really eye-opening accounts of people interacting with law enforcement.
Yeah, and what really jumps out is how often things seem to escalate, right? Instead of calming down.
Exactly. It feels like Defiance almost.
Yeah.
We've got 4 specific scenarios lined up today, all kind of showing this pattern.
Situations where, the individuals involved really seem to dig their heels in when confronted by authority.
Right. So we'll be looking at a threat in a store, a disturbance at a bar, or racist outburst, and a domestic violence arrest.
Quite a range.
Yeah. And the goal here really is to look past just the surface drama.
Definitely. We want to understand the behaviors, what led to them, and, well, the consequences that followed. See what it tells us about reactions under pressure.
And also the challenges for the officers involved.
Absolutely. It's a two-way street, often incredibly complex.
Okay, so let's start with the first one. Brandy McGowan. This was in a Walmart in Florida back in March 2022.
Right. The initial call was pretty alarming. She was reportedly threatening people with a brick.
A brick inside a Walmart.
Yeah. Already, that signals immediate danger and brings law enforcement into the picture.
And it didn't stop there. Apparently, she then stole a pocket knife and started, wielding it.
So escalation from a brick to a knife.
And then an officer confronts her. He has his service weapon pointed at her, ordering her to drop the knife.
Okay, a very tense moment. High stakes.
But Brandy, she seemed completely, almost oblivious to the danger she was in, just unfazed.
It makes you wonder what's going on in her head. Is it defiance? Is it something else clouding her judgment?
Well, we find out later that might be the case. But at that moment, the officer had options. He could have used force, maybe his taser.
And likely would have been justified given the weapon and the refusal to comply?
But then backup arrives. Other officers show up.
Ah, okay. That often changes the dynamic.
It did here. It allowed the first officer to actually holster his firearm and then deploy the taser.
See, that's a key point. More personnel can mean more options, potentially less lethal ones. De-escalation through numbers, in a way.
So she gets tased. What happened afterwards sheds some light. She was taken to the hospital and found to be high on meth, like really high. Apparently over 4 grams ingested.
4 grams. Wow. Okay, that provides significant context for the obliviousness, the escalation.
Definitely. And she also had a pretty lengthy criminal record. Burglary, kidnapping, battery. Serious stuff.
So not her first encounter with the system.
Not at all. She ended up being charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which, could mean up to 5 years in prison, a $5,000 fine.
It's a serious charge for a serious incident.
So the takeaway here, it really highlights the risks officers face, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it also shows the role of non-lethal force, like the taser, when, just telling someone what to do isn't working, especially when substances might be involved.
Right. Okay, let's shift gears. Case number 2. This takes us to a bar in La Crosse, August 11th. Christina Cabot.
Christina Cabot. Wasn't she related to the former mayor?
Wife of the former mayor, yeah. Police were called because she was reportedly intoxicated, attacking people, causing a scene.
Okay. A disturbance call.
And get this, it was the second time police had been called about her that same day.
Oh, wow. So clearly a situation getting progressively worse suggests maybe intoxication was really taking hold.
Seems likely. From her perspective, though, she apparently claimed the city, the police, they were all out to get her.
Ah, the victim narrative.
Right. Even though previous charges against her had apparently been dropped, she seemed to be blaming everyone but herself.
That's a pattern, isn't it? Deflecting responsibility, we see that sometimes. Makes it hard to resolve anything.
But witnesses, they told a different story. Said she'd been asked to leave multiple times, refused, got verbally abusive, then physically abusive, started fights.
Okay, so her behavior was clearly impacting others significantly.
Yeah, even apparently ended up kicking and screaming on the floor at one point.
That's quite the scene for a public bar. It necessitates some kind of intervention.
Some people tried to step in and help her out, but she just kept going. There was even this, awkward attempt to pay someone off right in front of the police.
Pay someone? For what?
Unclear. Just bizarre behavior. Eventually, the officers had had enough. They handcuffed her, took her to jail for the night.
Probably the only way to ensure safety and stop the disruption at that point.
But it wasn't over. Even in handcuffs, she was still resisting. They practically had to drag her to the patrol car.
Still fighting it.
And she insisted on carrying her purse the whole time.
The purse? Seriously?
Yep. Then at the station, same thing. Uncooperative. claiming they were hurting her even though it looked like she was the one resisting. She ended up in a wheelchair somehow.
It sounds like a complete disconnect from reality, fueled perhaps by extreme intoxication, the resistance, the claims of injury. It just makes the officer's job incredibly difficult.
The charges were disorderly conduct and resisting arrest.
Makes sense. This case really shows how intoxication can just obliterate social norms and any sense of, well, compliance with lawful orders. It's a challenge for everyone involved.
Okay, third case. This one involves an unnamed woman, happened at a Walgreens.
Walgreens, okay. What was the issue?
She was detained after apparently going on a racist rant against a group of Muslim individuals.
Ah, so shifting now to bias-motivated incidents, these can be tricky.
Yeah. The officer who detained her, initially, the interaction was quite calm. He checked if she had weapons. She didn't.
Standard procedure, starting calmly.
But then she starts talking. She claimed that her verbal abuse was okay because she was verbally abused first, and then admitted she spat on someone.
Whoa, okay, spitting is battery. That crosses a line.
Exactly what the officer told her. He corrected her, saying spitting is battery, doesn't matter what was said before. And he stayed pretty calm doing it.
Good on the officer for maintaining professionalism and clarifying the law there. One wrong doesn't legally justify another like that.
Definitely. After that, she seemed to kind of try and change the subject, or maybe gain sympathy, mentioned her car, mentioned she was a Christian.
Right. Trying to find common ground, maybe? Or just deflecting from the spitting and the racist comments? It's a tactic.
Could be. Even in handcuffs, being transported. She just kept talking. Said she had a lot going on in her life, apologized, but then immediately contradicted herself.
How so?
The classic, I'm sorry, but. She said things like, I'm not a racist, I have Muslim friends.
Some of my best friends are. Defense. It often signals a lack of real understanding of the offense caused. The apology feels less genuine then.
Yeah. But here's the twist. The group she targeted, the Muslim individuals, they decided not to press charges.
Wow, really? After a racist rant and being spat on? That's incredibly gracious of them.
It really is. A huge amount of grace. But did it register with the woman? Doesn't seem like it.
What happened?
She gets let go, right? New charges. But she keeps talking, making weird comments about her dad being in the military, how she'd never been handcuffed before.
Still processing it aloud, perhaps? Or just unable to stop talking?
Maybe. And she says she needs to look that up.
Yeah.
No idea what that was. Maybe something she'd said earlier. Mentions her church again. And then, just bizarrely, thanks God for President Trump.
Okay. That's quite a stream of consciousness. It really does point to a profound lack of self-awareness, doesn't it? Even after being shown such leniency.
Totally. It's like she couldn't connect her actions to the situation at all.
The key thing here seems to be that refusal to take responsibility, even when faced with her own offensive behavior and unexpected forgiveness. And you have to note the officer's patience through all that.
For sure. Okay, last case. Sean Malarkey. This involved a domestic violence arrest.
Domestic violence calls, always dangerous, always volatile. What happened?
She was being arrested because she had reportedly hit her ex-husband with her car.
Hit him with her car. Okay, that's extremely serious. Assault with a deadly weapon, potentially.
Right, and from the get-go, she resisted, refused to get out of her vehicle when the officers told her to, said she wasn't under arrest.
Denying reality right from the start.
And her kids were in the backseat the whole time.
Oh, that makes it even worse. Adds another layer of concern for everyone involved.
The officer warned her they might use a taser. She ignored that, started questioning if they even had the right to be on the property, even though they had a warrant.
Challenging the legality, questioning the warrant, classic delaying tactics, but also serious resistance, especially with kids present.
Eventually, they had to physically remove her from the car. Got her handcuffed, but she stayed aggressive.
How so?
Accused the officer of yanking her too hard. Claimed her lawyer had filed something to quash the warrant, trying to undermine their authority.
And was there any indication of impairment?
The officer noted smelling alcohol on her breath. She denied it, of course, blamed it on her.
Professor, that's a new one. Again,
Yeah.
deflection and denial. The possible alcohol use would certainly fit the pattern of poor judgment and resistance.
She then really started targeting the arresting officer specifically. Abusive language, threatening to sue him.
Personalizing it, trying to intimidate the officer.
And then it crossed a major line. She actually made a death threat. Said, "You're dead."
Whoa. Okay, that's a felony in itself in many places. A direct threat against an officer.
She tried to backtrack immediately, saying, oh, she meant he was dead as in getting sued.
Right. A quick, unconvincing attempt to walk it back. But the words were said. That's serious escalation.
And even getting her out of the patrol car later. She pretended she couldn't cooperate, blamed the handcuffs, claimed the officer was hurting her.
Yeah.
Just constant obstruction.
Feigning injury or inability to comply, another form of resistance.
The charges stacked up. Aggravated assault of an officer, aggravated DUI, apparently her third endangering a child, and resisting or obstructing.
A whole list of serious charges, stemming from the initial domestic violence but amplified massively by her resistance, the threats, the potential DUI with children involved. This case really shows how resisting lawful arrest in a situation like DV can just spiral, making everything so much worse.
So yeah, we've looked at these 4 cases, very different circumstances. Walmart, a bar, Walgreens, a domestic call.
But there are common threads running through them, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. This pattern of individuals just struggling with authority, with taking responsibility, maybe even with reality itself sometimes.
We saw a whole range of reactions from that sort of zoned out obliviousness in the first case.
Right, with Brandy McGowan.
To outright aggression, manipulation, denial, like in the other cases.
And thinking about you, the listener, these examples really do hammer home how important self-awareness is, doesn't it?
Right.
Especially in interactions with authority.
Yeah, understanding how your own actions, your words or behavior can either pour fuel on the fire or, help de-escalate things. It's a powerful thing to recognize.
It really makes you wonder, what are the underlying drivers in each situation? Was it the meth in the first case? Was it extreme alcohol intoxication in the second?
Or maybe a sense of entitlement. Or just being so caught up in their own version of events they can't see anything else.
Probably a mix of things, often. It's complex.
Yeah, it definitely is. And analyzing these situations, it helps us think about that complex brew of, psychology, maybe substance issues, personal history, that can lead to someone acting out so strongly against authority.
So maybe something for you to think about after hearing all this. Looking back at these 4 quite different encounters,
Yeah.
did you notice any recurring patterns in how these people reacted when the police stepped in?
Yeah, what common threads stood out to you? And maybe flip it around. What do these stories suggest about potentially more effective ways to handle these really tense, unpredictable interactions? From either side, really.
Definitely something to mull over. It might spark some further digging into this very complex area of human behavior and law enforcement.